There is an invoice, and I have a copy of it, and I have read it more times than a sane person would. It is itemized, the way expensive things are. 6 days of private charter on the Snake River through Hell's Canyon. A private cook, a private gear boat, satellite communication, premium catering with a wine pairing for each dinner, a lead guide with 11 seasons on that water. Every line has a number next to it, and the number at the bottom, the total, is $40,000. It is a beautiful document, honestly. It promises 6 days of the deepest, most remote, most exclusive river canyon in North America, delivered flawlessly, and every promise on it was real, and the outfit that printed it was fully capable of keeping everyone. She used 4 hours of it. Not 4 days, 4 hours. She was dead before the first camp, before the first dinner, before the first bottle of the wine she had paid so much for was ever opened, and the reason is written between the lines of that invoice, in a place no number can reach, and I am going to spend the next while showing you exactly where. Welcome back to Doomed Departures. What you are about to hear is a composite story. The characters are invented and the events are fictionalized, but the river is real, the canyon is real, the water temperature is real, and the specific way that water kills people who are completely certain they are in control is real. No real person is named. I'm going to call myself Marcus Reyes and the woman Adrienne, because she deserves a name and not a case number, and her family deserves not to hear the real one. I have run Hell's Canyon since I was 22. 11 seasons on that stretch of the Snake, and in all of them I had never lost a client, and I want you to understand that I do not say that as a boast. I say it because it is the thing I carried onto that boat with me, and it is the thing I did not carry off. Let me tell you what Hell's Canyon actually is, because the name is doing honest work for once. It is the deepest river canyon on the continent, deeper than the Grand Canyon. From the peaks of the Seven Devils Mountains down to the surface of the water is close to 8,000 feet, and almost none of it is visible from any road, because there is no road, not down in the gorge where the river runs. You put in at the base of Hell's Canyon Dam, and after that, there is no shoulder to pull over on, no cell signal to speak of, no walking out. There is the river, and there are the walls, dark basalt going up further than you can tilt your head, and there is the fact that once you are on the water, the only way through the canyon is the water, and the water does not negotiate. And here is the part that matters most, the part the brochure does not put in bold. It was early May. That is peak snowmelt, when everything the Seven Devils have been holding all winter comes down at once. And the river was running around 28,000 cubic feet per second, which is big water, genuinely big. The kind of flow where this section clicks up a full notch in difficulty from what it is in the summer. And the water was 58 degrees, snowmelt cold. I need you to hold that number because everyone always focuses on the rapids, on the waves and the drops, and the rapids are not what kills people in Hell's Canyon in May. The cold is. 58 degrees does not sound deadly to a person standing in the sun on a warm spring morning. It sounds refreshing. It is one of the most dangerous numbers on the entire river, and almost nobody who has not been in it believes that until they are. She had booked the whole thing as a private charter, which changes something, and the something it changes is the whole story. Because in her mind, the $40,000 did not buy a trip. It bought a hierarchy. She had paid, therefore she was the client. Therefore everyone else on that water, including the man with 11 seasons of reading it, was staff. Staff. And once a person has sorted the world into the one who pays and the ones who are paid, every single thing the paid people say gets run through one filter, which is, what are they getting out of telling me this? So when I called a safety line, she did not hear a safety line. She heard an employee managing his own workload. When I wanted to scout, she did not hear caution. She heard a man padding the day, stretching the job, protecting himself. Every warning I gave her, she reheard as self-interest, because in her model of the world, the person who works for you is always, quietly, working for themselves. And there is no sentence you can say that survives that filter, because the filter converts expertise into a hustle before the words even land. That started the night before we ever touched the water. There's an orientation the evening before a trip like this, a safety talk, and I give it to every group, private or not. Because the river does not care what you paid, and the briefing is the same briefing whether there are 2 of you or 12. That is rung 1. She interrupted it early, pleasantly, to ask why a private charter needed a group briefing at all. why she was sitting through the standard talk when she had paid for something bespoke. It was not a hostile question exactly. It was worse than hostile. It was the question of someone who had already decided that the safety briefing was a product tier, a thing that came in economy and premium, and that she had bought out of it. And I answered it the way I always do, which is that the river gives everyone the same test. And I gave the talk, all of it, and I watched about half of it land and half of it slide off. Let me tell you what was in that talk, because every word of it came back. I told them about the rock. There is a rock at Granite Rapids, submerged, sitting in the middle of the flow, and it makes a hole, a hydraulic, a place where the water pours over the rock and curls back on itself and holds whatever falls into it. I told them that rock is there at every flow, every year, that it does not move, that it is the single most permanent feature on that entire stretch of river, more reliable than anything else in the canyon, and that we run a specific line to stay off it. I described it by name. I want you to remember that I described it out loud the night before to the woman who was going to drive a raft directly into it. I told them about the cold. I told them that 58-degree water gives you minutes, not hours, and that the first thing it takes is your hands. Not your legs, not your lungs first, your hands. The cold shuts down your grip before it does almost anything else. So the exact moment you most need to hold onto a rope or a boat or a rock is the moment your hands stop being hands. And that this is why a life jacket, properly fitted, is not optional. Because you cannot rely on gripping your way out of cold water. You can only rely on floating. I told them what to do if they were ever held in a hydraulic, the specific, counterintuitive thing, the instruction that saves lives, and she was on her phone for that part, not being rude about it exactly. Just on her phone, thumbing through something, in the way of a person who has decided that the important content is over, and this is the fine print. And the thing about the fine print on a river is that it is the only part that was ever going to matter to her, and she was reading email through it. And I told them the guidebook prints 2 words in capital letters next to both of the Class 4 rapids in this canyon. Always Scout. I told them those words are in capitals because people have died learning why they should be, and she smiled and said something about liability, that it was the kind of thing lawyers make you put in the book, a disclaimer, cover for the outfitter. And I did not argue, because you cannot argue a person out of a worldview at an orientation dinner. You can only watch which way they are going to go and get ready. The next morning, we bussed in and put in below the dam, and rung 2 happened before we were even off the ramp, the life jacket. I fit every client's personal flotation device myself, snug, high, tight enough that when I lift up on the shoulders, it does not move, because a life jacket that rides up is a life jacket that is not there. Hers was too tight for her, too restrictive, she said. It pinched, it would show badly in photographs. She could not lift her arms properly for the camera. And she loosened it in front of me, back to comfortable. Back to loose, and comfortable and loose are the 2 words you never want attached to the one piece of equipment standing between a person and the bottom of a cold river. I asked her twice. I do not have the authority to physically tighten a grown adult's vest against her will, and I told her plainly that a loose vest can ride up over your head in fast water, and she told me she would be careful, which is a thing people say about danger they do not believe in. Wild Sheep is at River Mile 5 and change. Granite is about 2 miles past it. Both are Class 4, both are Day 1, and they come at you close together, which means the entire arc of this, the whole story, everything I have described building for a day, comes to a head in the first couple of hours on the water. She bought 6 days. She got 2 rapids, and the 2 miles between them is where she learned the lesson that killed her. Above Wild Sheep, I pulled out to scout from river left, the way you do, walking the bank to read the rapid at that flow, because at 28,000 cubic feet, a rapid is not the same. Rapid it is at 8,000. That is rung 3. She timed me. She actually timed me, and when I climbed back in, she announced to the boat, lightly, like a joke that was not a joke, that I had been gone 11 minutes and that she thought I was padding the day, stretching a 2-hour stretch of river into an all-day event to justify the rate. The others laughed a little uncomfortably because she was the one who had paid, and when the client makes a joke about the guide, the boat laughs. We ran Wild Sheep clean. Of course we did. I had scouted it, and that is rung 4, and it is the one that mattered because after we came through it upright and grinning and soaked, she turned around in the boat and said to everyone that I was paid to be nervous, that it was my job to make it sound scary, so the trip felt worth the money, and that they should all stop listening to me so much and enjoy themselves. And here is the terrible mechanism of it, the thing I have thought about for a long time. She was not entirely wrong to update on evidence. That is what a reasonable person does. She had heard me warn, she had watched me scout, she had watched us run it clean, and she drew a conclusion. The problem is that the conclusion was exactly backwards. We ran it clean because I scouted. She decided we ran it clean because the scouting was theater. Success handed her the wrong lesson, gift-wrapped, and she believed it completely, and she now had about 40 minutes to act on it. Let me stop and ask you something, because this one is not really about a river. When was the last time something went well because a careful person prevented the problem, and you concluded from the smoothness that the caution had been unnecessary all along? The backup that was never needed, so you stopped making backups. The check that always came back fine, so you stopped running it. Tell me in the comments, because that is the exact trap she walked into. The whole value of expertise is that when it works, nothing happens, and nothing happening is the easiest thing in the world to mistake for nothing having been necessary. She paid $40,000 for a man whose entire job was to make sure the river stayed boring, and when it stayed boring, she decided she had been overcharged for it. Then she made the decision that pulled the net out from under everyone. And this is rung 5, and it is the quiet one, the one that did the most damage while looking like the least. She wanted her boat to go first into granite, first for the camera, so the footage would be of open, untouched water ahead of her, and not the back of another raft. And on a trip like this, the running order is not arbitrary. There is a safety boat positioned deliberately downstream of the hard rapid, so that if anything goes into the water, there is already a boat below it, in the eddy, in position to catch a swimmer. When she changed the order so her boat went first, she moved the safety boat out of the one place it needed to be. She did not know that is what she was doing. She thought she was choosing a camera angle. She was, in fact, disarming the single most important safety measure on the river 40 minutes before she would need it, for a better shot. Above granite, I pulled out to scout again, river right this time, and I took my time, because granite at that flow is serious and the line is narrow, and there is that rock, that permanent rock, sitting exactly where it always sits, making its hole. I came back to the boat with 2 things: a line, the specific sequence of moves to stay right of the hydraulic, and a portage option, a way to carry around it entirely at that flow, which is not cowardice, it is a tool. And at 28,000 cubic feet on day 1, with a client who had loosened her own vest, it was the tool I was reaching for. And she told me to get off the oars. That is rung 6, and it was not a negotiation. She had watched me scout twice now, watched us run clean once, and she had her lesson, the false one, and she was done. She said she had paid for this river and she was going to run this river, that she was not going to sit in a boat and be portaged around the exciting part by a man who was clearly more worried about his liability than her experience. And she took the oars. She fired me on the water, above a class 4 rapid at flood, in front of everyone. And she took the oars into the one rapid on that river with a rock in the middle of it that I had described to her by name the night before. I am not going to pretend there was a clean moment where I could have physically stopped her without putting the whole boat at greater risk. There was not. That is the part people who have never been on a boat like that do not understand. My options at that second were all bad, and I took the least bad one, which was to get everyone else braced and to get myself into position to do the only thing I might still be able to do, which was go in after her. She entered granite wrong, not catastrophically at first, just slightly off the line, a little too far center, which at 8,000 cubic feet is a mistake you get away with and at 28,000 is not. And the river took the small error and made it a large one in about 2 seconds, and it put the raft onto exactly the feature I had spent a night and a morning describing. The hole below the rock, the permanent one. The raft hit the hydraulic and it flipped, cleanly, the way rafts do, and it put her into 58-degree water at flood, and then everything I had told her the night before came true in the order I had told it. The vest went first. The loose vest, the comfortable one, the one that would photograph well, rode up over her shoulders the instant she was in the recirculation. Exactly the way I had said it would, and a life jacket up around your ears is not holding you up anymore. It is just fabric. The cold took her hands next. Fast, faster than people believe. And she could not grip. And the one instruction that might have helped her, the specific thing to do when a hydraulic is holding you, was the instruction she had read email through the night before. And the safety boat, the one that should have been sitting in the eddy right below Granite ready for exactly this, was not there because she had moved it 40 minutes earlier for a camera angle. I went in. I want to be plain about that and then move past it because I am not telling you. So anyone thinks I'm a hero. I went in the way you go in after a client, and the river is bigger than any person in it, and 58 degrees does to a guide's hands what it does to anyone's. And I'm telling you, I went in because it is the part that never makes the brochure, and because it is the truth. It was not enough. The water had already done most of what it was going to do in the first 2 minutes, which is how long 2 minutes is in cold like that, and the canyon has no road and no shoulder and no shortcut, and help on that river, when it finally came in the form of a jet boat. That is the cruelty I cannot get past. Help existed. Jet boats run that stretch, powerful ones, and one of them is what eventually reached us, which means the thing that could have changed this was on the river the whole time. It just was not in the right place, because the one boat that was supposed to be in the right place had been moved out of it by the person who needed it for a better shot 40 minutes before she knew she would ever need catching. The raft was recovered below Granite. She was found a long way downstream hours later, and I was the one who found her, and I am not going to describe any of it, because she was a person with a family, and this channel has a line it does not cross, and there is nothing in the details that the facts have not already told you. The ruling, when it came, was clinical and quiet. Drowning. With improper personal flotation device fit and water temperature listed as contributing factors. 2 contributing factors, both of which I had warned her about by name the night before, one of which she had created with her own hands at the put-in. If any of this reached you, then do the small thing that carries it to the next person who thinks the person they hired works for them instead of for the truth. Like this video so it finds somebody before they get on the water instead of after. Subscribe so you are here for the next one. Not for me and not for a number on a screen. Do it so that one more person, somewhere, hears an expert they are paying say the word no, and understands that the no is the most expensive and most valuable thing on the entire invoice. Here is the whole of it, and I have had a long time on the water since to find the words. There is exactly one thing that $40,000 cannot buy on a river, and it is the only thing that would have saved her. It cannot buy the guide's judgment actually being followed. You can buy the guide, you can buy his 11 seasons and his scouting and his line and his portage option and his entire attention for 6 days, and she did. She bought all of it. It was itemized right there on the invoice. What money cannot do is make a person accept the thing they paid for, because the acceptance is not a service. It is a surrender, a small daily surrender of your own certainty to someone who knows the water better than you. And that is the one thing a person who believes money makes them the authority can never bring themselves to spend. She bought the best advice available on that river and then treated the fact that it came from an employee as proof that it could be safely ignored. She paid for a map and then set fire to it because the cartographer worked for her. And the canyon kept her secret, the way it keeps everything. That is the last thing, and it is the thing that has stayed with me longest. Hell's Canyon is deeper than the Grand Canyon, and unlike the Grand Canyon, there is no rim road, no crowd of people looking down into it, no overlook where a stranger might have seen. What happens on that water happens where nobody who is not on the water can see it. She paid a great deal of money for exactly that, for exclusivity, for a private canyon with no one else in it and no one watching, and the river gave her precisely what she ordered. She got the most exclusive 4 hours of her life, in the deepest and least visible canyon on the continent, entirely alone, with a decision that no amount of money could buy back. And the walls closed over it the way they close over everything, and the invoice is the only thing that came home whole. Next time we leave the water behind and go up into the high country, where the danger is not the cold or the current, but the air itself running thin, and the fittest, most confident person on the mountain is once again the first one it takes. Until then, the next time you are paying an expert, And every instinct in you says that because they work for you, they answer to you. Remember that they do not answer to you. They answer to the thing you hired them to know, and on the days that thing turns dangerous, the wisest money you will ever spend is the money you spend doing exactly what they say. This has been Doomed Departures. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.